And to shed more light on this story concerning the situation in Lebanon and the process of disarmament of the Palestinian factions in refugee camps, we're joined from Beirut by Dr. Najat Aoun Saliba, the Lebanese Member of Parliament, and Dr. Ahmad Younes, the academic researcher and political analyst. Thank you very much and welcome to Think Tank. Dr. Saliba, I'll start with you first. Now, considering Prime Minister Salem's vows to reclaim state authority, could a successful disarmament of Palestinian groups in Lebanon pave the way for renewed international support for reconstruction, or would it risk further internal polarization?
Good afternoon for you and the channel and all the viewers and listeners. Thank you for the invitation.
Pleasure.
Of course, the Prime Minister Nawaf Salam is calling for the sovereignty of the state, and this is an evident thing that we should rally around. We have over and over again have insisted that we need all arms to be in the hands of the government, and no militia or any armed forces should remain loose without the grip or the firm grip of the Lebanese army forces and the oversight of the state. So we definitely insist that all arms should be returned, should be handed to the Lebanese army forces, and the only armed forces should be the state armed forces, including the LAF, the Lebanese Armed Forces, and all the security forces and others. We definitely don't think that this is going to turn out to be a negative thing on the government. In the contrary, all efforts to regain the state sovereignty is going to be a positive thing on the residents first and on the trust of the foreign or outside countries towards Lebanon. This is extremely important to all of us in order for us to regain our place among the Arab countries and among the international countries as well.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Younes, Hezbollah's municipal election victory in the south and Beqa, is it a sign of strength, or is the movement's decline irreversible?
Good afternoon to you and to your audience, to your guest. Hezbollah municipal elections victories in the south and Beqa are on the surface a demonstration of the group's continued organizational strength and its ability to mobilize supporters in its traditional strongholds. So these wins reflect not only Hezbollah's discipline, electoral machinery, but also the lack of a viable opposition in many areas, especially where its alliance with the Amal movement remains unchallenged. So in these localities, Hezbollah continues to provide services, enforce order, and maintain its social influence, which resonates with parts of the population. So electoral victories do not erase deeper signs of erosion. The economic crisis in Lebanon, growing public dissatisfaction, and even subtle discontent with the Shia community are chipping away at Hezbollah's legitimacy. So many citizens are increasingly critical of the group's role in dragging Lebanon into regional conflicts, especially given the deteriorating living conditions. So while voters may still choose Hezbollah affiliated candidates due to the lack of alternative or fear of renewed ideological commitment or long-term loyalty. So we see that Hezbollah's local wins are less a sign of irreversible dominance than a reflection of the current.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Saliba, you emphasized the necessity of disarmament, but with Hamas's reported reluctance to comply with the arrangements reached by the presence of Lebanon and Palestine, how can Beirut enforce disarmament in Palestinian refugee camps historically beyond state control, and does that signal internal polarization?
There should be no internal polarization whatsoever. Mahmoud Abbas, with all due respect, of course, came and understood the situation and the severity of the situation if we still have armament of the Palestinians inside the camps. There is no word to be accepted from any armed group except to comply with the state's strategy and with the state's decision. Whether it's Hamas or other armed groups, they should be, if they are living on the Lebanese territory, they need to comply with the country's strategy and with the country's decision. And this is what should happen and needs to happen. There is no need and no room for any disparity or any armed conflict. They should definitely comply, and they should turn in their weapons to the Lebanese armed forces. And then, since there is a committee that is pursuing, the disarmament, and at the same time, I'm sure they will be pursuing and discussing the best for the Palestinian people. We want the Palestinian people to be living in our country with high dignity. They should be able to have a really decent life, not live in the conditions that they are living now, and not really have the kids of the Palestinians only made to fight and continue to fight within the Lebanese territory and put our country and their lives at risks. So this is long gone. This is not accepted anymore. Both the Prime Minister and the President have decided that they will take all armed forces they will take control of all armories inside the country, and anybody who is living on the Lebanese territory needs to comply with this decision. Any sovereign country will need to implement the decisions that are taken by the upper administration, and here it is the case for the Prime Minister and the President combined.
Dr. Younes, considering Lebanon's history of failed disarmament attests post-Taif, what has fundamentally changed that might allow for a peaceful separation of Palestinian groups from their arms?
Lebanon's post-Taif history is marked by the failure to fully implement the disarmament of non-state actors, particularly Palestinian factions and later Hezbollah. These failures stemmed from a lack of state capacity, regional instability, and the absence of trust among local communities. So in the 1990s, for example, and early 2000s, efforts to disarm Palestinians group outside the camps faced fierce resistance, as these groups viewed arms as essential for self-defense and amid weak state presence and regional neglect of refugee rights. So what's fundamentally different today is a growing national and regional consensus on the need to reduce the number of armed actors in Lebanon, particularly as the country faces economic collapse and widespread public frustration with the unaccountable militias. There is also increasing Palestinian support, especially among younger generations, for a life with dignity, integration, and legal rights, rather than perpetual militarization. So this shift is partially driven by the deterioration of living conditions in the camps and the decline of traditional factional loyalties, offering an opening for political solutions rather than armed ones. So, peaceful separation of arms from politics requires a comprehensive strategy, credible Lebanese state reforms, international guarantees for Palestinians' rights, and a security framework that assures Palestinians group that they won't be left vulnerable. Without this multidimensional approach, any disarmament effort risks repeating past failures.
Mhm. Dr. Saliba, the U.S. ties reconstruction aid to Hezbollah's disarmament. Could this be a catalyst of a potential violent confrontation between the Lebanese authorities and Hezbollah?
We don't expect any conflict or any violence. I think Hezbollah is trying to hold on their weapons in order for them to gain leverage in the discussion. They are in great need for support in order for them to do the reconstruction of villages that are completely destroyed. We do hope and insist that Hezbollah turns its weapons as soon as possible so the country gets back on its feet. We don't agree with Hezbollah holding on to the weapons for longer time. I think this is not good neither for Hezbollah nor for the country, of course, to threaten the presence of the weaponry within or with one group to threaten the security of the country because they're still holding on to their weaponries. This is not acceptable, and this is not going to be happening, and we're not going to let it to happen. The Hezbollah the Hezbollah has to turn its weapons in order for the country to gain its full sovereignty, and also at the same time for the country to show the world that we honor our commitment to implement the UN Resolution 1701. And with honoring our commitment, I think we gain the trust of the international and the Arabic community. And with that comes the support and the donations so that we can really rebuild the country, especially the villages that were completely devastated and are on the ground from the recent war. Hezbollah is trying to either serve foreign interest over the Lebanese interest, or it's trying to really use the weaponries like a bargaining chip. In either case, this is not good for the country, and it's not good for anybody in the country, especially the people who have lost their homes and who are in really great need for support in order for them to rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives. So we call on Hezbollah to really comply with what they promised to do under the UN Resolution 1701 and to turn their arms as soon as possible to the Lebanese armed forces so that the country is able to get on with the lives of its citizens.
Well, Dr. Younes, France as well warned against delays in the disarmament of non-state factors. But does the international community truly understand Lebanon's complex reality?
Can you repeat the question?
France has warned against the delays of the disarmament of non-state actors. Do you think that the international community truly understands Lebanon's complex reality and nature?
About France,
Yes.
you mean? France warning against delays in Lebanon reflects legitimate concern from the international community over governance, paralysis and prolonged institutional vacuum. So, however, while the pressure is well intentioned, is often overlooks the complex and deeply rooted dynamics that define Lebanon's political reality, sectarian power sharing, regional influence, and fragile internal consensus. So the time lines imposed from abroad rarely match the intricate mechanisms of decision making within Lebanon's system. So the international community tends to view Lebanon through the lens of state failure and reform urgency, but it sometimes fails to recognize the structural challenges that obstruct swift progress. So Lebanon's crises are not what we can merely the result of inactions, but of systemic dysfunction shaped by decades of external interference and internal compromise. So applying a one-size-fits-all solution without addressing the root causes, including economic collapse, political clientelism, if we can say, and the security concerns, risks deepening mistrust rather than fostering reform. So while international support remains crucial, it must be informed by an in-depth understanding of Lebanon's unique political. The constructive engagement requires more than pressure. It demands dialogue with all local actors, acknowledgement of regional sensitivities, and support for institutional resilience rather than selective change.
Mm-hmm.
So only by aligning reform efforts with local realities can Lebanon move from stagnation towards sustainable stability.
Dr. Saliba, after President Mahmoud Abbas's visit, will Palestinian factions comply or will they challenge the Lebanese state authority? And does the Lebanese state authority have a plan B in case they do challenge it?
We have welcomed the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause for over 50 years. And we continue to care about the Palestinian people and their children and their well-being. In that sense, having said that, I think the Palestinian people need to understand that Lebanon has paid dearly because of the lack of the spread of the sovereignty over the whole territory of Lebanon. And many wars have been conducted on our grounds that are not really of our top priorities. From this sense, we really urge the Palestinian peoples to comply with the decisions taken by the president and by the prime minister, and to turn their armament so that we can continue to serve the Palestinian cause and to serve the Palestinian people and to welcome them in our territory for their good and benefit and for the good and benefit of the Lebanese people. We do not hope and we do not see any violence that could come out from this decision, and we do hope that this decision will turn out to be for good on all people, including, of course, Lebanese people and the Palestinian.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Younes, one final quick question. If Hezbollah keeps linking disarmament to Israeli withdrawal, is Lebanon doomed to an endless stalemate?
Hezbollah's position linking its disarmament to a full Israeli withdrawal and the resolution of border disputes reflects a broader national dilemma. How to reconcile sovereignty, resistance, and the state authority. So this stance, while grounded in Lebanon's historical grievances, particularly regarding the five strategic points that now Israel are occupied
Yes.
by Israel. These violations that done by Israel effectively ties a domestic security issues to a regional conflict with no immediate resolution in sight. So this linkage complicates any internal consensus on national defense strategy and keeps Lebanon in a cycle of suspended decisions. So the risk of an endless stalemate emerges when disarmament becomes contingent or on external conditions rather than national consensus.
Dr. Najat Aoun Saliba, the Lebanese parliament member, and Dr. Ahmad Younes, the academic researcher and political analyst. Thank you both for your special insights and this valuable discussion.